Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Digital to Dice podcast. I am Dave.
I'm Ron.
And Ron, episode 81. What do you got?
It's the Art Monk edition.
Yes, it is. We're into the receiver numbers.
That's right. Players that you actually can remember. And so, hail to the nameless
team.
Hail to the nameless. Hail to the nameless. Fight for Washington.
There was some hockey players that wore 81 too. Was Phil Kessel or something like that? Or
Kessel was, Malkin's 80. Crosby's 87. Isn't Malkin? No, Malkin's 71.
Oh yeah, you might be right. Yeah.
But I think Kessel was 81, which is kind of odd because he's certainly not 40 years old.
No. But so we'll call it the Art Monk episode here, episode 81 of Digital to Dice podcast. DigitalToDice.com, that's our website. That's where we park all the podcasts over on Spreaker. 978-751-DICE, 978-751-3423 if you want to send us a text. DigitalToDice@yahoo.com is the email. Over on Facebook, facebook.com/groups/Digital to Dice. Boy, that's up to 600 and something.
60-something. We're a set of Topps baseball cards.
Yeah. Yep. We're doing pretty good with that. A lot of good discussions over there.
Yeah.
A lot of great games being played and new games and different things like that. And some interesting projects people are posting over there. That's been really fun. And if you want some cool Digital to Dice gear that would help sponsor the show, cafepress.com/Digital to Dice. You can get mouse pads and cups and T-shirts and all kinds of fun things like that. And show off your Digital to Dice gear. And also want a shout out to all the people who are still sponsoring the show here. Yeah, thank you so much. There's some people that are still doing monthly contributions to the show. Thank you so much. That keeps us going. It keeps the lights on and pays the bills and the whole bit. And there's other people that are doing the one-off donations from time to time, even $10 or $20 here and there. It's thank you so much for, it really does go a long way towards helping keeping the show going. And every day Spreaker's reminding me how much storage we're taking up with all the podcasts. Now that we're getting up to 81 episodes, they're like, you might want to increase your plan because I'm like, oh no, I don't want to spend any more money. But in order to keep them all up, it does cost money to store all this stuff. And so we want to thank you. And if you head over to digitaltodice.com, there is a little PayPal button that you could help donate to the show if you are so inclined. But we want to say thank you to the people who have contributed, especially everybody that did last summer when we had that big drive after year one. Okay. Today's topic, it's about personality, Ron, isn't it? It's about personality.
Personality, warmth. Personality stuff. I did a video comparing basically open-engine games to closed-engine games. And one of the, as discussions always do splinter off, came up with, do cards from a cards and dice have a distinct personality? And I think the answer is yeah. I think you can learn a lot about a player or a team by looking at a card or a sheet. So that's what we're going to talk about today.
Okay. First, though, should we get to what we're playing?
Yeah. All hockey, all the time.
Boy, yeah, we're both in big hockey moods, aren't we?
Mm-hmm.
I started up my Shootout Hockey full season replay of 1970-71. That's the season I ended up going with, and got off to a rocky start because I'm trying to put the stats into the Stratomatic hockey utility program that I got, which I really, really like. It's just it's a little dated. It's a little unforgiving if you make a mistake. So it took me a few times of entering games to finally get in the groove a bit, but now I'm in the groove. So what I'm using is the Shootout PC Helper to play the game. I generate my box score in that, and then I port that over to the utility, and I manually put in all the stuff and get it done there. But when it's in and it's done, it's great because it has all the stats right there. You can go check the teams. You see, how many goals per period the teams are getting. Their power plays, their penalty kill. The stats that you can get out of that game are really kind of neat. Obviously, the leaders and the standings are all there as well. Mm-hmm. So that's why I really like that utility. It's really nice. And I looked at some online ways of doing it, but either you pay a monthly fee or you get blasted with advertisements, and you just can't get to anything with all the ads that come up. So I says, as much as I struggled with the utility putting in games and I had to start over a couple of times, I'm getting in the groove. I'd rather use that than to start paying stuff out for websites and the whole bit. So it's been fun. I calculate it's probably going to take me the rest of the year to play this if I play a little bit every day to play all the games. And then I don't know about playoffs. I'll have to figure out playoffs when I get there. Maybe I'll use Shootout EZ for playoffs because I really don't like to keep playoff stats too much. I just like to get through that.
Why would you skimp through the most important part of the year?
Because I'm a regular season guy for stats anyway. Even in my leagues, we keep regular season stats, but I don't keep playoff stats. I never did. And I think the playoffs, when it comes to the playoffs...
Even if you don't keep the stats, I think you'd want to play out the playoffs.
Someone had a good suggestion on the Delphi forum, is that to play Shootout EZ until an elimination game and then play the full game. And I was like, I like that idea. I do. And maybe, obviously, the conference finals or the cup finals, maybe I'll play out. But I like the idea of, I'm not going to keep playoff stats. And the reason I don't is because it's unequal. I mean, you could have one guy that's on fire for a team, and his team gets eliminated, and then he doesn't play any more games. And so it's always going to be the guys in the finals with the most points. And I kind of just, not my thing.
That's the whole point of a playoff.
But the point of the playoffs is to win it, though. It's like it doesn't matter who gets the most points in the playoff to me anyway.
Still, even if you don't keep stats in the playoffs, I mean, if you sat there and did the Seals and the Sabres in the regular season, I mean, wouldn't you want to play?
Well, I want to play. But I want to play out the regular season. I want to be consistent with everything, and give everybody a full game if I can. And then in the playoffs, I'm just kind of looking for a winner at that point there.
Okay.
Just me. I've never been a playoff points type of guy. I mean, regular season is fun to follow that because everybody plays the same amount of games, and in the playoff it gets. I tried that one time with I don't know what hockey game. I think it might have been Ultra Quick Hockey, and I tried to get all the stats for the game in the playoffs.
So even if you don't keep the stats, just to play, because you just never know. I mean, that's the thing with play, especially with playoff hockey, is when they go into overtime. Do you want that 4-3 quick score, or do you want the experience of going into triple overtime with that and having? I
gotta see. Maybe when I get there, I'll
16th line center who played 2 games. Though it doesn't matter if he doesn't play again, but that's you're talking more about the storylines, and that's
when I get there, I'll figure it out.
Peter Klima is, but they might not remember why, and certainly not New England.
Well, I'll see how I feel when I get there. Maybe I'll be burnt out and I'll be like, well, I just want to finish it up with some easy, or maybe I'll be like, okay, this is fun. I want to keep going and see how it goes. I won't know until I get there. But I started that up there. I've been really back to Strat PC hockey with 74-75 season. I broadcasted a couple of games there. I've been that's my late at night kickback thing. So after I play a couple games of Shootout. I'm also playing more regular season basketballs. I play basic mode in my Celtics 85-86 season. I think I'm up around game 42 or something like that right now.
Yeah, they caught fire for you after a rough start.
Yeah, I had a rough start, but they've had 6 and 8 game winning streaks. They've had a couple of those, so I'm doing pretty good in that replay. But sometimes I'm tired of rolling dice. Whether it's Shootout or regular season basketball, and I'll just put the feet up and I'll just play PC hockey. And I've been back into my 70s strat season, 74-75, and just enjoying that. Actually, I started a game last night. It was, of course, it was the Seals at the Capitals, and the only reason I was playing that is because so far the Capitals are 0-17. 0-17.
You really are a Red Sox fan at heart. Let's find the most masochistic matchup we can find and do it.
Well, actually, I was playing as the Seals. So I was California going into New York. In
Washington?
Well, I played New York first, but I was the Rangers. And the Seals scored 2 goals in the third to tie it. We tied 2, and the Seals tied the Rangers 2-2. So I'm playing the Rangers, and I blew it. I'm like, oh, man. But then so I said, I'm going to be the Seals, go into the Washington and see if I can keep them winless. And I think I'm in the first period late last night, and that's when I stopped. But I've been enjoying kicking my feet up at night and just playing the Strat PC hockey because it's the cards and dice experience on the computer. I really do like that.
It's an evening full of loose puck. Defensive center takes control. Next.
It is, and that's what's the fun part about playing bottom teams is it's quite different than playing top teams, you know.
Oh.
Now, I have learned, though, that you only can do that so much because at some point you get tired of the bad teams, you know. And
yes, baby, may I have another?
Yeah, exactly. So I have learned that. I have learned that when I started this whole thing, I was playing a lot of bad teams or my favorite teams, which sometimes were bad. Now I'm finding myself...
Sometimes, Mr. 76 Buccaneers 15 times on a replay. Sometimes?
Well, now I'm playing some better teams. Now I'm playing some Patriots that are better teams in some of the football games. I'm playing the better Bruins teams, things like that. So, but in this one here, I'm kind of just playing I look at the schedule. If there's a game I want to play, I play it. If not, then I just tell the computer to sim and I go the next day, and that's what I do with this. But it is fun at night, and I just not having to really think too much and just putting the feet up and doing that.
Yep.
I haven't got back to my Celtics replay on PC Replay basketball. That's one thing I need to do. I need to get back and play that. That was going pretty well. I was streaming those games, and we got a good group of people in there doing that as well. So I need to get back to that.
Just remember the first 10,000 fans that go to the Omni for Dave Gardner night.
Oh, man.
Yeah. Hawks play, get a free John Sterling T-shirt.
I finally, in regular season basketball, started beating the Hawks. So I beat them twice in a row. So now I feel a little bit better about things. But boy,
I'm going to get an Atlanta Hawks shirt. So when you have the Ron Juckett voodoo doll and the Atlanta Hawks,
wasn't that kind of funny though? How they beat me so bad, and they beat me in replay PC basketball. They beat the snot out of me. They beat me by 30 points, right? And then I turn around in regular season basketball, and they beat me again. It's like, man, I can't beat these Hawks. I just couldn't do it. So that's mostly what I've been playing. I did have one thing I want to talk about real quick. In my 70-71 shootout replay, I was playing, it was St. Louis Blues at Toronto Maple Leafs. And
you played this during my doubleheader stream Monday night.
Yeah, and what I've been doing is I'm going to NHL.com and going back to 1970, and I get the matchups for the day, and I get the goalies. So I have the as-played goalies, at least to start the game, is what I like to do. And the St. Louis versus Toronto game, it listed two St. Louis goalies. It had Glenn Hall starting and then Ernie Wakely coming in. But it wasn't a blowout. You know what I mean? It's not like it was 9-0 and they brought in Wakely to mop up. So I don't know what happened in that game. So I take it Hall must have got hurt, right, in the real life game. So I go and I'm rolling that game in shootout, and what happens? The away goalie gets hurt and comes out of the game. So Hall comes out of the game and Wakely goes in. That was spooky. That was real eerie when in real life a goalie didn't finish the game, and it doesn't look like they pulled him because I think it was a 2-1 game. So they wouldn't have taken him out for bad play. So he must have got hurt. And in my replay, he gets hurt and comes out. But that's the kind of fun you can have with this stuff. That really is.
Absolutely.
You know,
absolutely.
When that stuff happens,
like that, yeah.
Anytime you hit something that exact like that, whether it's someone gets 3 touchdown passes or gets goals or pitches a no hit. I mean, anytime you hit something that's exact with real life in these games, it's you don't want it all exact because then it defeats the purpose of playing.
No, then it wouldn't be exciting. And again, we've talked about it. Read the reference page for that. But when it does happen.
Yeah, when it does happen, it's kind of neat. When you hit a score exact or something like that, you're like, wow, that's kind of neat. So that I did want to mention that. That was one really cool thing that happened when I was playing shootout hockey. So that's all the stuff I've been playing. What have you been doing? You've been doing some good things.
Let's see. 49 Baseball Replay is back. We've hit the almost at the All-Star break. Hard to believe, but I did start at Christmas, and it is mid-March, so I guess that would be there. So, yep. And you know what? You're getting, you poked at me always canceling a hockey. You get 2 hockey games at lunch next week because the lone 49 game will be the All-Star game.
Okay.
Wednesday night in prime time. So the Senators are starting to fade, but it'll be really interesting to see because in real life they won 50 games. And they went, I think, 19-69 after the 1st of July. I mean, how bad do you have to be?
Ooh.
Yeah. That's Cleveland Spiders.
How? Okay, question here. Okay, let's stop for a second here. how the heck would you card a team like that won the 50 games and then turn around and then just laid an egg like that? I mean, that is.
I think because, well, they made some trades, and so they dumped some of their good players. I'm sure there was no free agency and money, and of course there was no TV.
Yeah,
you only got radio money nationally if you made the World Series. There wasn't a game of the week package per se or game of the day like you have now. And so if there was no money, you sell your best players and you tank and hope to recover some of that stuff, I guess. Because they've made some trades and that team has gotten progressively worse. But in the replay, and again, it's, if you did a season 100 times or 1,000 times, you're going to get that anomaly, and we've hit that anomaly. They've won 43 games in the first half. There's no way in purgatory they're only going to win 7 the rest of the way. They're going to beat it by a solid margin.
But what I'm saying, if you were one of these people that had a baseball game, you're like, oh, I'm going to make team cards or individual cards, and then you got a team that had such an up and down like that. I mean, what do you do? Is base it on the average of everything?
I would, what you do is for, any good math would be, it's whatever you obviously don't face your own pitching, so you card the teams based on league averages minus what your pitchers did or minus what your hitters did, because you don't pitch to yourself and you don't hit against yourself. And the Senators couldn't pitch to save their lives, and that's what's going to bring them down. But yeah, this has been a weird anomaly. Here we are, nearly halfway through the season. They're not going to win the American League, but they're going to spectacularly crash. But the fact that they're still hanging in there in the early part of July really defies expectation. And again, if you were new to the sim and saw this and go, oh, what kind of garbage is this? But I've done it. We've done enough, obviously, with the Action PC line of products to know 1 in 100, it could happen. Now, if they were going to win 100 games and cakewalk to the American League title, I'd kind of wonder. But that's not going to happen. The Yankees have DiMaggio back and all that. So doing that, and have we talked about me playing regular season basketball? Did I bought that? I don't think I had bought it.
No, you picked it up a few days ago and just started kicking it around. Yeah.
I played a game last Saturday.
What do you think?
With it. I like it. I like the keeping the stats thing. The basic game, as Dave has shown off on his channel, and then you add to it, when you roll those dice and get whatever the dice reading is, you read a line and you get the shooters. And because I'm playing an early 3-point season, I love that rule. And you get a complete game of stats. And so by the time that you're done, it felt like that you watched a basketball game. You might not get to see who hit the buzzer beater if that's the case, but you get so much of it's kind of like a shootout version of basketball.
It is, and that's why I really took to this run when I started playing it a year ago now, I think.
Yeah.
Is the idea that you get the game in 3-minute chunks. Is you roll your dice, roll your ball, roll your dice, and you get the score for that, how many points they got in those 3 minutes, and then it breaks down who got those points. And it takes a little bit of getting used to as far as filling in some of the stuff there, but you're almost like filling in the stats. And
it is. It very much is like, and you're a big puzzle guy, and I think we've talked about Sims being choose your own adventure or writing your own novel, but again, a regular season basketball feels like you're putting together a puzzle of a game.
Yeah,
and that can be very satisfying and to know. And because there's 36 dice combinations from, oh my God, we just had the worst 3 minutes in the world.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That there's 36 different combinations. And so even if you'll never get the same 12 or 16 in the course of a game.
Right.
There was the first game I played, which was between, New Jersey and Boston, because I just had to flip from one page to the next. I think one time the Celtics had the same roll twice. It's like, okay, well, I know how to fit in that. But it really is fun. It really is fun. So at some point I'll do a video about it. I don't keep track of minutes, and I'm not, because and I don't keep track of fouls because I don't think it's a game, to me anyway, where it's really important who's on the floor at any given time. I mean, yes, you imagine that the best players on the floor.
Well, I think the idea with that would be, I think that's an optional rule if you want to keep track of fouls to see who fouls out. So late in the game, the only thing I would really do is late in the game if so and so got points and they had fouled out, then you would have to allocate those points to somebody else for realism. The best thing about that game is that you can add as many stats in that game as you want or not.
To use your word, it flowed, and you don't necessarily look. I mean, there, field goals, free throws, rebounds, assists, but there's a color code for steals and a color code for block shots, and you don't know when you start reading the line where that's going to go. Mm-hmm. And it kind of keeps you in suspense. Now, I suppose if you did a full replay, you'd memorize all that stuff. But again, no two games are ever going to be the same. There's that 36 variables for each team, and it's very clever. Very, very clever. It's probably, I wouldn't call it a quick play game by any stretch of the imagination. But if you don't feel like doing the whack-a-mole thing, there's a couple good whack-a-mole basketball games, or coaching like you would in Action PC. It's kind of like, sitting on the couch and watching a game. And there's nothing wrong with that. What else have I been doing? Doing some more of the roster card Washington Nationals. I've learned to hate the Chicago Cubs again.
What season?
2017, because that's the year I covered it for Fansided.
Okay. For some reason, when you mentioned that, I thought it was like a 40s or 50s season.
No. Modern. Okay. No, not that old. So I also started a replay in Stratomatic. I remember I was doing the 181-82, but the cards were made wrong.
I think you said that, yeah.
Yeah, and so one of them was the teams I was doing was Edmonton.
No, was that for the PC too? The cards were wrong on the PC?
That was the PC.
Oh, bummer.
And so you can't do Oilers replay if Vancouver and the Kings are carded wrong. Their goalies were carded. They were too good. So I abandoned that one that one was abandoned, and I hadn't played it in a while. And you would start it on your hockey binge again. And I have all these seasons for the Islanders. Still as a Canadiens fan, but as a kid, the Islanders were the hot team. And I did 75-76 for in Action PC and fell in love with Brian Trottier to the point where I have his jersey. And so I figured, what the hey, I'll start that again and just play him in Strat. And the difference between Strat and Action PC, as far as what I'm getting so far from 2.5 games, is amazing. First game in Action PC, first game of the 75 season, the Islanders go to Kansas City to play your scouts. And in that first game in Action PC, Trotz had 5 points. They just blew him right out of the water.
Okay.
And in fact, in Action PC, unless I was playing Montreal, Philadelphia, or Buffalo, I knew 90% of the time I was going to win. Mm-hmm. Well, this was a very young, raw team that kind of gelled together, halfway decent defensive team, would get their stuff together after a while. So, first game in Kansas City, 5 minutes to go, I'm down 3-1.
Wow.
Anything going whatsoever. I get out of there with a 3-3 tie.
Okay.
And and then we play at home against the Kings. So the home opener in Uniondale. 3-0 lead after the first period. Oh, yeah, this is what I'm used to. I know this team is good. They're potentially a 100-point team, yada, yada, yada. What impressed me most was that this team was good on both sides of the puck. Well, this kind of goes into the topic of the show. As soon as you say in your head, oh, yeah, I got this. It happens to me a lot playing golf. Oh, I'm about to have a really good stretch of golf. The gaming gods go, oh, no, Rodney, not at all.
Ron, the same thing happened with the Kings in my shootout hockey series. Okay, Boston's in L.A., right? Boston's up 4-0. This is 70-71. They're crushing the Kings. And I'm thinking, I got this, and I'm having fun, I'm having my Ovaltine, and it's a 4-0 game. And the Kings get 2 goals late in the second, and it's 4-2. Next thing you know, they get 2 goals early in the third. It's 4-4. The Bruins blew a 4-0 lead to the LA Kings. And finally, I think it was with 3 minutes ago, Fred Stanfield scored for Boston for the 5-4 win. But I know what you're saying. You got it in the bag. You're kicking back. And
3-0 after 1. And you know how good they are because you played the season before another engine and 3 power play goals. Thank you, Billy Smith. Thank you, Billy Smith, for that. And so I started game 3 up at the Garden, the Boston Garden, and before I know it, it's 6-1 Bruins halfway home in the second period. The Islanders have had 4 shots.
Wow.
And so when I finish the game, I'm starting the third period. I'm down 6-3, and so yeah, I mean to leapfrog into the topic of the show, you can see why they'd have trouble. They're a young team. They haven't gelled it together. They really don't know what they're doing. It's Denny Potvin's second year. It's Brian Trottier's third game ever. And by the time that they would piece it together and get good, they'll be gangbusters. But, I mean, the biggest moment in Islander history before then was Eddie Westfall taking the Islanders into the Garden and pounding the poop out of them one night. That was 74-75. Was that the year they made the semis as a surprise?
They might have, yeah.
And so, yes, and if the surprising game in Kansas City and blowing the chunks against the Kings and the Bruins, of course, a top flight team in the 70s, maybe that's what you would have expected from the Islanders to start the year. But after doing it in Action PC and now doing it in Strat, wow. It's kind of like the difference between handling a car with an automatic transaction or learning to drive the stick. You got to put it in gear. Oh, okay.
It is kind of fun when those things happen, though, because if you just rolled over every team, it wouldn't be fun. But when those weaker teams come back, it does. Like I say, that Rangers game, they're up 2-0. Seals scored twice to tie the game. It's a 2-2 tie. I thought that was cool, because in my mind, I'm sitting here like, it's Madison Square Garden and the Seals are in town tonight, and I'm thinking, all those corporate people in the 70s are like, yeah, it's just the Seals. I'm gonna give something to somebody else, and say, here's my tickets for tonight. Go watch the Seals. They're gonna crush them, and they come out of it with a tie. They can't even beat the Seals at home.
But that's why they play the games. And so, yeah, you can just kind of feel the disappointment or feel the excitement. And I don't know who we play after Boston, but there needs to be an easy win in here somewhere. They're in the same division as the Flyers, who will be tough games.
Yeah.
And the Rangers, which won't be tough games. And Atlanta, which did all right in my Action PC replay, but shouldn't.
Atlanta's a fairly decent team.
The Gary Howitt is carded on an opponent defense 11, which is a penalty check. He's a AA penalty rating, but if he gets it, it's a penalty and a misconduct. I don't think I've ever seen that. That's the 70s. I'd have to go through the Flyers and see how many misconducts are on that.
Yeah,
but an automatic misconduct on an opponent defense 11.
It's fun looking at that stuff there. It really is. Yeah. So, and I'm actually keeping, now that I'm doing the full season, I'm actually doing the penalties and the fights for my shootout project. And I actually went back and watched P-Jet's video on YouTube again. It's an older one about penalties and fights. And he really goes into detail about, how to do that stuff. And I'm still foggy about some of the fighting stuff, but I want to keep track of that. I want to see, who the penalty minute leaders are, things like that. So I'm trying to do all that the right way. So, all right. So, shall we get into our topic of the day?
Yeah.
All right. Here we go.
As I said in the open many interruptions ago, you won't know on the podcast just how long it's taken us to get to this point.
Yeah, we were going to talk about this at the end. We can talk about it real quick now as the main topic comes up. My internet dropped right in the middle of it, and then Ron had a medical call right after that. So we've been interrupted 4 or 5 times. We're going to really try to piece this together so it seems seamless. But in case something sounds a little out of whack, yeah, this has probably been the out of all 81 episodes, this is probably
this has been the
toughest.
Is the one. And if we have another interruption, CBS is going to show Connors Crickstein from the '91 U.S. Open.
Yeah, now let's go.
Every time they had a rain delay the last 20 years, CBS had the Open. They would pull out the tape of Connors and Crickstein from the '91 U.S. Open quarterfinals. It never failed. Like, oh, it's raining at Flushing Meadow. Let's watch this, And so that's what it is. The next time we're talking about that for 20 minutes.
Right.
I did a video kind of contrasting and comparing Action PC to basically open-engine baseball games.
Mm-hmm.
And as things kind of do when you have something that has an active conversation with it, you have the conversation came up of whether or not cards or charts or however you keep teams have their own personality in an open engine. And the more I thought about it, I agreed with that. You can take a look at even an APA card and look to see where those home runs are in a power card or what the pitching grades are. And you can start to picture in your head how that player is going to perform. I know some of it's math, and everything, no matter the engine, is based on math. But watching baseball after playing Strat and knowing someone makes a play, oh, that player's going to be a 1 in that position because that's the best rating you never. Oh, or God, he botched that. That's a 4 or maybe even a 5. And I agree. I think if you know the game engine well and you take a look at the cards, if you buy a new season or pull something out, you can take a look and go, oh, yeah, I see it. It's kind of like when algebra made sense for some of you because it never made sense for me. But you know what I'm saying there? You can take a look. You play enough replay, and so you can look at Larry Bird's card and go, oh, yep, that's him right there.
Oh,
good on the fast break. Good on the Dazzlers.
Well, I mean, even playing payoff pitch. I'm doing that.
Especially that, yeah.
I think I'm 3 or 4 games into my Roger Clemens replay from '86, I think it was. And boy, you look at his card and how many of the 2 to 12 rolls are the tough. And that means that, that's benefits the pitcher. It's not a guaranteed out by any means, but the chances of getting it out are very good under tough. And so you look at that card and you're like, wow, In fact, someone said, how would you even give up a home run with that card? Well, I gave up a home run in my second game. So it is possible, but it's difficult. So I'm interested to see how many home runs he actually gives up with that card and payoff pitch. The same with with Strat Hawk. You look at a goaltender. And you're like, how you scoring? How you scoring on this guy? The chances of you scoring are slim and none on this guy.
There's a Lemieux card, Mario Lemieux, not Claude, 90-91, which is a season that I played in college. And on an inside shot, if you roll a 5, it's a goal. You can't stop it. Joked in college, not even God could stop that shot. It's an automatic goal. And Lemieux played he was hurt that year. That wasn't his cancer year, but he was hurt. Mario was never a bastion of being in good physical shape. From what I understand, he smoked and ate a lot of McDonald's. So he didn't play a full year, but his goals per game ratio was so high that he had to have that fair. And so, yeah, you just can't stop the goal.
That's how it was in that Bobby Orr card. The 74-75 replay I'm doing, I had a rebound shot, and everything was a goalie rating except for like 10. And I rolled a 10, and it was a rebound. I was like, man, I put that up on the Facebook group to show that off. That I was like, man, look at all these chances Bobby O has to score a goal here or get a goalie rating, and it was that. But you can look at these cards, and it is fun. Even team cards, like fast action football, you can look to see what the better quarterbacks, what the roles will be for a completed pass, and the running backs, you can see what their running ratings are, and if they get the ball on a handoff, what are the chances that they're going to gain more than a couple of yards? And you're right, they have some characteristics right on the card. And that's the best thing about an open engine game is you can see that stuff. It's kind of neat.
When Strat redid 1980 for baseball, I mean, everyone wants to see the George Brett card from that year because that's the year he hit 390. Chasing 400, and if he hadn't gotten hurt towards the end of the year or stressed, he might have actually hit 400. where are the hits on that card pattern? What does a 7 roll get you on his column?
Right. Yeah.
And again, it's just like reading a word problem. You don't really know, but like, or the whole, take like a Koufax or a Clemens or a Pedro and one of those columns, 5, 6, 7, 8, strikeout. But okay, you're gonna dominate.
Do you know what cards have really good personality? Speaking about that, is History Maker Golf by Play.
Yes.
The holes. Okay, you have 18 individual holes. Each hole has a card, and they're laid out. I think they're in full color too, and it's a visual representation of the hole. And you can see the holes that have the water, the holes that have the sand, the holes that have the trees. And so when you're teeing off from there, you have a pretty good idea of like, oh boy, I don't want to roll this number, that's for sure. Those are really neat too, the play cards from the History Maker Golf.
ASG Golf, brilliant game. Same thing. You can look at a card. You've got driver or a 3-wood in your hand off the tee, and you're looking to see how many single-digit play result numbers are, because those are the best things. I think 24 and 36 are pretty good as well. But if you're seeing numbers like 27, 28, 32, like, and can we get the hot dog cart to follow us into the woods, please, for this shot? Because you know that if you get that, it's 40 yards offline. You're in trees. You're in parking lots. Hell, you're on the Ferris wheel. At the putt course next door. That sort of thing, and you kind of can eyeball a card and go, yeah, that's going to be. I'm playing with this. Or
yeah.
You couldn't pay me enough to play with that. Replay basketball. I don't know the cards that well, but I know that in column 5, if you roll, a 1, 2, or 3 with someone like Magic Johnson or Larry Bird or someone else that had a really high assist ratio, it's going to be an A there, and that's an automatic basket. It's a pass and a basket.
Yeah,
and so.
Well, even on those cards, the defensive ratings are huge too. Is because sometimes you'll have a defensive matchup, and you need a 1 to 5 out of 1 to 6 to hit the shot, or a 1 to 5 out of 1 to 6 to get the shot blocked. And so sometimes the defensive rating, like, wow, how am I going to score on this guy?
Absolutely, absolutely. And so those things kind of add up, and it adds to the allure, I think, of playing cards and dice, because yes, it does get the personality, and it's not just numbers on a computer. That's not to say that storylines don't develop and players can overperform or underperform, but that, to me, that's one of the magic things about playing the cards and the dice, because you can, in roster card, for instance, one of the closers from the 2007, Trevor Rosenthal, because I just played Washington and St. Louis. His strikeout rating is 102, which is pretty hard to do when you're only playing on 2 10-sided die. On that game, your automatic strikeouts start with an 80 and then move up. And so technically, read the rules, and supposed to be for certain roles, but there's like a 22% chance, regardless of what you do, how good your batter is, that he's going to strike you out. And of course, strikeout rates are high, so you're certainly not declining on yours. I mean, that just kind of says something right there. A couple of years ago, I did the pre-play between Kansas City and San Francisco. Now, I don't watch a lot of modern football. My Giants are terrible. Although they've signed some players in free agency, they might actually be worth watching this year, and all that. But I've played enough 2nd and 10 over the years that I learned how to read a team and what to expect. And I think Kansas City won my pre-play that particular year. But the way that the ratings and the allotted catches and carries were laid out taught me what to expect when I watched the real game. And so it was more enjoyable to watch the Super Bowl than it would be on a year where I don't have any genuine interest in it, because I knew how those teams played.
Oh, that's interesting.
I knew that Travis Kelce was going to be the primary receiver for Kansas City, and how they would distribute the run carries there, and the numbers that Mahomes had to throw the football, and just how accurate and how dangerous he is on under center. And it just kind of amplified, like I said, it made it a lot more enjoyable because the game told me how to decipher the word problem, how to read the cards. And so absolutely, even though it's a team sheet, and yes, it's technically a computer game, it told me what I needed to know to enjoy.
Well, you wouldn't play in the regular season basketball, you said, and if you look on those team cards, you know, if you're, you know, a bad team, and I don't remember who the bad teams were that year, but if you were New Jersey maybe or whatever.
You don't want to play Atlanta on the road.
Yeah. No, I mean, you don't want to go into Boston because, you know, the Boston on the team card, their home offense, I think, is a +8 or a +10.
I think for 85, 86, it's a +2, I think. I played the game against New Jersey, and they were a +2. Atlanta.
Actually, I have it right here, so I'll look. Okay, so here it is. So on the Celtics, their home is +6, and their home defense is -5. That's an 11-point swing right there. Now, okay, for example, they were playing Indiana. Indiana on the road offense is -9. Okay, so a -5 defense for Boston at home and a -9 road offense for Indiana. In the modifier boxes, you're going to subtract 14 points. So whatever you roll for that game for Indiana, you're subtracting 14 points. Now for Boston, +6 at home on offense, and the road for Indiana defense is +2. So that's a +8. So
that's a 22-point swing.
That's a 22-point swing. So you talk about reading the cards and having personality. That there, as soon as you look at that, you're like, holy crap, that's a 22. Now, it's not impossible because I've lost these games. I've rolled so poorly that I've lost some of these games, and the percentages are, 8 or 9% of a chance for Indiana to win this. But, yeah, so you look at those team cards, and that's what you get. And the same kind of thing with the shootout cards. I'll be laying out the shootout cards, and I'll get the offense and the defense, and I'll look and be like, oh, this team's offense is a G, which is the worst. I think it's A to G. G is the worst, and then you look at the opposing goalie, and you're playing, Tony Esposito or a Jockman, and they're A or a B, and you just
Didn't you have a game the other night when the visitors had a 3% chance of having a scoring chance?
Yeah, that was Detroit.
Out of 100, they had three. There's 3 decks flips on the card on the deck that would have given them a scoring chance.
Yep, 3, and they actually ended up getting 2 scoring chances in that game. I flipped a 1, 2, or 3 twice in that game, and they lost, of course. But yeah, so I mean that's how bad that card was. I think it was Detroit. As their offense was bad, they were on the road and they were playing an A goalie, and I kind of forget which goalie that was and which team it was. But yeah, 1 to 3 out of 100 chance to score. So when you look at those cards, it's like you talk about the personality. You're like, when you start seeing a lot of F and G's on the card, no matter if it's for the offense or the defense, that's going to be a long night for that team.
Or you buy the set of Payoff Pitch or the Strata or whatever the new season. Show me Bob Gibson's card from 68. But even though it's just the ones that just kind of over the course of a season, like you said, the Celtics and Pacers in regular season basketball. Okay, and so once you become familiar and like the engine, regardless of the engine, and you can read the card, it's going to tell you a lot. Now, because it's all random numbers, dice or virtual or what you roll on the tabletop, anything can happen. So what should happen and what does happen are 2 different things, but wow.
Now, let me ask you this, just to kind of play devil's advocate.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think being able to see all these ratings on the card, does that spoil anything for you? Whereas if you have a closed engine game, you don't see any of this.
No, I mean, I think it would be like if you were to go having good seats at the arena of your choice and seeing what Bobby Orr looked like up close, or Larry Bird, or if you were whatever sport you are a big fan of. Like if you see a boxer come in the ring and he doesn't have a good sweat worked up before his fight, you know that he is toast. Now everybody has a bad night. and it's possible for anybody to be the hero in any game. But no, I think it just kind of builds to it. Remember, cards and dice is all about using your imagination. It's not simply reading and recording results off a card. It's all about someone, Scotty, someone digging in against Roger Clemens and what Clemens is going to do when you know that in 86 Clemens has a huge advantage. But I remember watching on Monday Night Baseball his first loss of the year. He started 14-0, and then they go to Comiskey for a game in June, and Chicago just irritated the living daylights out of him. And again, here you go. Here's the best. It's the Red Sox having the best pitcher in baseball, and he's off to the most phenomenal start in 50 years for any pitcher, and then he gets Christmas treed on national television. And so, no, I mean, it can happen. It can happen. So even though you kind of get the sense of what should happen, kind of like, watching Bobby Orr every night or Pedro Martinez circa 2000, you're waiting for the no-hitter. That never happened. But, that was, what's he going to do tonight? I think it's kind of even more intriguing when they don't perform all that well. Like, oh, he lost, or, oh, that ball.
Well, sometimes, when you have the cards out like that, again, playing the crappy teams last night, the Seals and the Capitals in 74-75, there's a lot of guys that were taking shots and they couldn't score. Their card wasn't even a goalie rating on their card. So you knew once you took the shot, there's no drama because there's no goal. Whereas in a closed engine game, you take the shot and you might not know that. You might not know that this guy has a 0% chance of scoring.
Yeah, but that's why when you see that light up, it's like, oh yeah, you're a defender. You had 70 shots, you couldn't score. Please roll an 8. Please roll an 8. Please roll an 8. Oh yeah, rebound. So it could lead to that. But yes, the chances are better. Lose to anybody, like great. Let's start the next rush the other way with someone with the highest assist rating, which is how you do that in Strat. Or, oh crap, I gotta bat the pitcher. Or, oh goody, here's the 40. Here's Wilt Chamberlain and his 32% free throw shooting to the line. And you never know. Once in a while, one might go in. So I mean, again, the computers can give you the visuals. The computers can give you the accurate stats, so you know that someone who's supposed to hit 320 or maybe had a 100-point season or what have you is going to do what they're going to do, but it doesn't mean that it loses the allure. But there's the special allure, because it's all played between your ears anyway. The computer's playing things out, and you can turn that. You can be as creative as you want to be. Or as you do, kick back and relax and let that do all the work, and you just kind of talk your way through it. But no, I think, especially because a lot of you out there started as kids with the ads and the Street and Smiths and all that, you are the manager. And so, yeah, you don't want Mickey Mantle to be nondescript. You want that APA 66-11 home run. Oh my God, he's got one on 1-1-3-3 and 6-6. Or if you're playing the golf, you get that perfect drive on the 1-1-3-3, 5-5 and 6. Whatever it is, that's what you're looking for, and that I just think that adds to the excitement. Doesn't make, because let's face it, as accurate as a card and dice game can be, and they really are, there's just. I think the illusion, it's kind of like the sex symbol wearing the dress. You can see that, or the tight pants if that's your thing. You can see the person naked. You might get excited about seeing the person naked, but there's kind of that cloak of what if. I know what should be happening here. In the computer, there really isn't any of that. Yeah,
this is true.
If that makes any sense at all.
So what are some of the things that you look at that give a card that personality? What things jump out at you?
It depends on the engine. We mentioned some of it in with the replay. Where are the easy shots? in Strat, someone who is a big home run hitter, how close to a 7 in a column is that home run? How am I going to get that? For a power pitcher, where are those strikeouts? Where are the points of weaknesses? For a quarterback, for like a Brady Moss combination in 2nd and 10, do they really have that high completion percentage on a medium long or a long pass? Are you going to be tempted to throw that bomb because you know you can get away with doing that? Or this person can't be sacked? And Marino always had quick feet, even if he couldn't run. How close to this can you emulate that player? And because when you want to replay, you're big into this. You want to play they're all statistical adaptations of our favorite players: Brian Trottier, Bobby Orr, Wayne Gretzky, Larry Bird. But when you pull out that card, you want to play your vision of Bobby Orr, and you know, oh yeah, he really was all that in a bag of chips in that given year. And this card, he's a 4-4, and he's got, 18,000 goalie ratings on his card. And maybe if you roll a 3, a chance for an automatic goal that the goalie can't stop. And that's how you picture it. And so you see those numbers translates into your vision of that player.
Do you ever get disappointed when you see a card and you're like, wow, this guy was really, really good, and I'm surprised that his card looks like this?
I knew when I started that 81-82 replay about 2 games in that Gretzky was not even going to come close to 200 points. Stuck on a first line with Dave Lumley and somebody else. And for someone that scored 92 goals, there should have been something on an automatic goal on a rebound on a 6. May not do it on a 7, but goodness gracious, a 5 or a 6 should just be a G.
Right.
And there wasn't an automatic goal there. And I knew, I plotted along with it till I realized that players were carded wrong, that this player is not going to do what he should even, you should have a chance to recreate in any game engine, what the player did in real life. So the year that Devin has to return 5 or 6 punt returns and kickoff returns for touchdowns, yes, he should be able to have a chance to do that in whatever the engine. Gretzky wasn't going to come close. He probably was going to get 50 goals, which, again, not bad, and maybe 80 assists. He was going to be a 130-point player when he should be a 200-point player.
Right.
And so, yes, that was a disappointment.
Now you've talked before about I think it was in the Action PC baseball where you have the percentages come up. So when someone comes to the plate, it shows you, what are the chances that they're going to get a home run, a triple, a double, single, right. Whatever. Mm-hmm. You just mentioned Devin Hester returning those punts for touchdowns. In game-winning drive, some teams have a rating on kickoffs and punts that they can there's a small chance of returning them for touchdowns, and other teams have none. What do you think about that? Is basically saying, or maybe even in Action PC baseball, that a guy has 0 chance of hitting a home run, or a football team has 0 chance of returning a kickoff or a punt because they didn't in real life.
Well, I think we've touched on this before, and that's a whole other episode. Should a random chance of something happening, are you okay with the player who maybe didn't score in hockey having a goal? And there's the argument of, well, if he didn't score in real life, I don't want him with a chance to score 3 or 4 because it didn't happen. And again, as we say, there is no wrong answer there.
Right.
I kind of lean into, I suppose, in a rare play opportunity, there's always that 0.1% that something out of the ordinary can happen. But if I know that Dave Gardner didn't hit a triple or a home run in 400 at-bats, I'd be kind of concerned if I looked up and he had 2 triples or 4 homers.
Okay. Because I was playing Strat PC the other night. I don't know if it was the 74-75 or if there was another season I was playing. And we had defensemen score goals. 1 defenseman for each team scored a goal. And when I clicked on their card, one of the defensemen, this is November, okay? in the season I'm playing, one of the defensemen had 2 goals in my replay in November, and they had 4 all year.
And they may not score again for
And
months.
they might not, yeah.
Jerry Hart, and when I did the Action PC replay, I think he had 2 or 3 goals. But he didn't get his first goal in my replay until the last 5 games of the season.
You know,
You just never, randomness is randomness, and
Yeah,
I'm assuming
I mean,
that there's
I'm
some sort of
okay.
randomness involved in that. But
I'm okay if someone that never hit a home run, like a Denny Doyle or something, not known for hitting
yeah,
home
I
runs,
mean,
you know.
one, I'm fine with.
I'm okay with that too. If a guy that didn't score a goal all year gets that odd goal, I'm actually okay with that, because that, you don't want to have exact. I mean, because if you had exact, then
we talked about it before.
Yeah.
Go read the reference page.
Yeah, go read the reference page. But just the idea that, holy cow, here's a guy that didn't get a goal all year, didn't get a home run all year, and he gets a goal or a home run at a key spot. I mean, that's so unexpected out of this person that would really.
Carbo in Game 6 of the 75 series. His homer ties it up in the 8th. Timmy Smith in that Super Bowl, who was a scrub running back for Washington, busts out for 200 yards.
Yeah, so
Denver.
I like to leave that door open a crack for something like that to happen. That's just me personally. And I know that, like I say, you got the people like, well, if they didn't score, they didn't score. If they didn't home run, they didn't home run, and just they shouldn't have any chance. But
I think for me that kind of depends on the situation. You kind of want to court that, but I don't want it to happen often enough where it skews things.
Right, yeah. No, I agree with that.
So, yeah. But, yeah, I think – so to answer, go back to your – no. Just because someone's expected to happen. I mean, look, Michael Jordan missed 58% of the shots he took in his career. One of the greatest scorers of all time. But he failed much more often than he succeeded. As far as shooting is concerned, you do it enough, you're going to win. But so yeah, you want that boxer to be covered in sweat. You want that anticipation for whatever it is. But just because the anticipation is there doesn't mean that said player or said team is going to deliver. There are nights when the 85-86 Celtics are going to lose by 30. There are nights that Bobby Orr is going to give up the puck 5 times in a row. And there are nights that Denny Doyle is going to somehow bloop one over the short fence in right field to tie a ball game. Or in your case, Freddie Lynn walking off 2 games in 3 nights. That sort of thing.
But I find that makes it. That's why we do it. That's what makes it fun. Is that when you get the odd stuff, and we talked about earlier how I had that goalie get hurt in the exact same game.
Yes.
And so it's neat when that happens exact, but it's also neat when something unexpected happens too. And that's why we do this, is to see what kind of results we get. And when you hit it on the nose, it's really special. And when you get something completely out of the ordinary, it's special. But I agree. If Denny Doyle hits 15 home runs, then you're like, okay, yeah, there's something wrong here, But if and I imagine it's probably real difficult to card a player or a team that would allow a guy 1 home run or 1 goal or 1 touchdown run or something like that.
And when you're doing something specifically that you're rolling dice for, where you either have maybe 1 to 100 chance of something happening, or in Appa's case, there's 36 possible things per chart, so there's a 2.9% chance of something happening on any given play. Again, for the most part, it all works. But I think when it's kind of like on Christmas morning, and you've asked for the PlayStation or the Atari if you're our age, or the Pong if you're my parents' age, and you get it. Whatever it is, the car, whatever it is that you want, and you've got it, and you're opening it up. So the set of cards, because, Strat and Appa cards were kind of, for some people, were what they got for Christmas. And you're looking at that George Brett 1980 card and going, oh my God, he's got hits on. I'm just saying, I don't remember seeing the card. He's got singles on left and right on a 7, on a 1, 2, and 3.
Yeah.
I'm going to have so much fun with this. I'm going to put the preparation H on myself just to, to do that. Babe Ruth has that home run on a 5. It's not just on rolling the 2 in a strat. He's got that on a 5, and there's no qualifier. It is not a ballpark. You know, I mean, that's the sort of thing, and it makes you want to pull out, as we've talked about plenty of times, pull out that game to play it again.
Yeah.
Jack Nicklaus has 18 single-digit numbers on his driving card. He's going to hit the ball long, he's going to hit it far, and he's probably going to hit it straight.
Yeah.
And that's, or, you know, make the putts or what, you know, yes. Yeah, because you want to play the Bobby Orr that you remember. And if you know the game well enough and you look at the card going, yeah, Bobby's got a good chance of doing 50 goals from the blue line because he's got the goalie rating on the 5 on an outside shot, or, you know, whatever, or a scoring letter is A or B, you know, Espo's an A and Bobby's a B, and you know that's the, you know, they weight those things to get them the best chances. Yeah, that's exactly why, because if it was just pure algebra, then okay, there'd be some people who play, but
yeah, you know, when you talked about Christmas, when we were real young there, I had a friend of mine that used to take a little knife and he'd take the Christmas wrapper and he'd peel it back and he'd see what he was getting, and then he'd put it back and he'd say, I know everything. I know everything I'm getting for Christmas. Like, why would you do that? He goes, I'm getting this. I go, why would, half the fun is opening the present and seeing if it's, if you're getting, you know, if you're getting something awesome, or if you're just like, gee, thanks, and you put on the fake smile, just what I wanted, another pair of socks as a kid. You know, but I mean, that was half the fun, is tearing the package open. I was like, dude, you're wrecking Christmas. What are you doing?
Yeah, but no, I mean, that's the thing. You want your quarterbacks to throw like your quarterbacks, and you know, once you play a game long enough, you know what the cards should look like, and to have that match. He got 3 automatic baskets in column 5. Oh my goodness gracious, we're gonna have so much fun. Yeah, I mean, so yeah, I think there's a distinct personality, good and or bad, and it doesn't mean that it can't happen on the computer. But I just think, again, you know, because cards and dice is pure imagination.
Mm-hmm. Yep. So, yeah, so the cards, player cards and team cards, they do have some personality, and they are fun to look at. And that's half the fun, was when I cut up the cards or tear the cards or whatever it is when I have physical cards. It's looking at the cards and looking at the names. It's like, oh, I remember him and I remember him, and oh, this guy had his baseball card, and you know, I remember one game I saw with this guy here. And it's really cool, you know, to do that, and it's fun having those cards in your hand. It really is. So, shall we wrap things up?
Yeah.
By the numbers, this has been episode 81 of the Digital to Dice podcast, the Art Monk edition, if you will. Ways to get a hold of us: digitaltodice.com is the website. 978-751-DICE. 978-751-3423. If you'd like to send us a text. digitaltodice@yahoo.com is the email. And over on Facebook, facebook.com/groups/digitaltodice. Ron, thanks for joining me today.
As always.
All right, and we'll catch everybody next time.
Bye-bye.